Bonjour. Welcome. My name is Edoardo. I'm the managing director of the All Turtles Paris studio. Thank you everyone for being with us tonight for the official launch of our Paris office after the San Francisco early last year and Tokyo early this year. We're going to meet with some of our product founders. They're going to tell us their story. They're going to tell us how they work with us. They partner with All Turtles to create amazing new tech products. But before we get there, I'd like to introduce our CEO and co-founder, Phil Libin. Phil is a serial entrepreneur. He's built, sold many companies. He's an investor. He's a mentor. And please join me in welcoming Phil.
Thank you. Hello. I'm super happy to be in Paris for this launch. I'm really happy that all of you are joining us. At All Turtles, all we want to do is build hopefully important products. As Edoardo said, many of the people at All Turtles, myself included, have been building products and building companies for a long time. Some of us 20 years, some of us only 6 months. And we've all come together around this realization that a lot of the way that people think about building products, building companies, is very inefficient. There's just a lot of bullshit baked in to the normal thinking about how to build things. And we want to build meaningful, important products in a new way. And so at All Turtles, we basically believe in 3 things. 3 important, crucial things, which are the pillars for how we are structuring everything that we do at All Turtles. And we hope to get people that believe in similar things to work with us. The first thing we believe is that real talent, exceptional talent, like really brilliant people, are very, very rare. And the world is moved forward by really talented, really brilliant people. But true brilliance is rare, but it's evenly distributed everywhere in the world. Brilliant people are they're like very rare mushrooms. They sprout up randomly everywhere, in every location. And the way the world is structured right now, if these rare, brilliant mushrooms sprout out within 50-mile radius of Stanford, they have many opportunities to use their brilliance to really change the world, to really impact products. They can make startups, they can raise money, they can do whatever they want. But if these brilliant people spread out somewhere other than in the 50 miles around Stanford and maybe some areas around Paris, then they don't get anything like the same chance, and their brilliance is wasted. And we think this is one of the biggest tragedies in the world, is wasted potential, is people who are really smart, really talented, who have a vision for a product that the world needs, and they don't get an opportunity to make it because they happen to not be the right kind of person, not be in the right kind of place, not have the right kind of idea. So this animates everything we do. And because we believe this, because we believe that true brilliance is rare but evenly distributed in the world, All Turtles is born global. Right from the beginning, we wanted to have 3 locations. So we operate right now in San Francisco, where we just turned 1 year old. Our 1-year anniversary was actually 2 weeks ago. And we forgot about it. We didn't even realize that it was our 1-year anniversary because we were too busy. I remember thinking I should check the calendar because our anniversary has to be coming up, and by then it was already too late. So we're a year old in San Francisco, and we have 7 products that we're developing in the office, and like all of our locations, the idea is to grow to about 10 products each and about 100 people totally per location. So right now we have about 70 people in San Francisco. We opened in Tokyo in February. Our second location. We have 3 active products in development there, and as of today, we're now also live at Station F in Paris. So thank you all for coming here and for being here at our launch. Even though we're only a few minutes old, I guess 6 minutes old in Europe, we already have 5 really cool products that we're building. So off to a good start, and you're going to hear from the product founders later today. We'll have brief chats about all of the stuff we're doing in Europe. And there are 5 really I think, great ideas. They're 5 really great products that have a strong chance of making an impact on the world. And we have big plans for Paris. Paris is our European hub. This is our European headquarters. This is where we're going to base all of our European operations. We're going to build out a big team here. We are in Paris because, well, mostly because we love Paris, because we think that this is a place with a great design culture, with a great technology culture, with great attention to detail, with great taste, and these are the important things for building important products and for building important companies. Right now, we're a very small team here, but we are going to grow. The goal is to be about 100 people at Station F in this location within a couple of years, building important products worldwide. And everything we work on at All Turtles, all these products are, like I said, we call them born global, which means global from the first day. It's difficult to make a global product from day one. It's much easier to just focus on your local area. It's difficult to be global on day one, but we want to pay that price right in the beginning of every product so that it's baked into the DNA of the product and the product teams and the company. Because it's hard to do it in the beginning, but if you do that and you pay that price and you get used to it, you get it baked into your DNA, into your system, then you can really make something global. And it's much, much easier to do that than it is to start locally, spend a few years locally, and then go and then try to go worldwide. So everything we work on, we build, we sell, we distribute, we market, we support. We have customers in all over the world in as many locations as possible. It's because of this born global philosophy that we do many of the things we do. For example, just yesterday, we relaunched our new website, all-turtles.com. Please check it out if you haven't. And the goal of our new website is to bring really important news and perspective about technology, about artificial intelligence, about entrepreneurship, about innovation, everywhere that we operate. And we publish the website in 3 languages. We simultaneously publish it in English, in French, and in Japanese. There are 3 places where we operate. And if you go to the site, everyone sees the same thing. Everyone sees all 3 languages, which kind of seems weird at first. I'm not actually sure how people are going to react to this, because almost nothing else shows you multiple languages at the same time, with the understanding that you're not going to understand everything. Because this is what the world is like. We are a very polyglot company. We speak many languages. We operate in many cultures. We are from all over the world. We build products everywhere. And I like this feeling. We like this feeling of kind of like being in the Mos Eisley Cantina in Star Wars and kind of understanding what's going on, but not really. And there's always stuff that seems really cool, and there's things that you understand well, and there's things that you understand imperfectly. And this idea that the world is a big place, the world is a diverse place, the world is full of innovation, the world is full of brilliant people, and you don't understand all of it is an exciting feeling. And this is part of what being born global means, and why we're dedicated to publishing in multiple languages, being in multiple locations, building products that serve all the people of the world, and getting used to this feeling, enjoying the feeling of not fully understanding everything, of being global, of being broad-minded. And we're really happy to announce, actually, that we are working with BPI France and Silicon Valley Bank to help with our European expansion. We are partnering with both of these great financial organizations to help us scale, to help us work on more products, more projects in France, in Europe, worldwide. We're trying to bring the best of French culture and entrepreneurship and technology and mentorship with BPI France and combine that with the best of Silicon Valley with SVB Bank. So we're super happy to announce a partnership with both these organizations working together and All Turtles. The second thing we believe is that creativity is a process. We think a lot of people, when they're building products, they think about building startups. And the world kind of looks like this. If you think about the types of organizations that are possible, and you look at this axis, where over here on this side, you have organizations that are fundamentally conservative, that fundamentally try to protect their existing positions. And all the way on the other side, you have organizations that are very entrepreneurial, that seek new opportunities, that take crazy risks. Most people think, okay, well, big companies are over here on the left, and startups are very entrepreneurial. So this is a common way of thinking about it. But if you then cross it with this axis, where on top you have organizations that are experienced, that are professional, that are disciplined, that know what they're doing, And at the bottom, everything is a clown car on fire. Everything is amateurish, everything is risky, no one knows what they're doing. In our industry, in technology, we basically say, well, if you want to make a product, you have two choices. You can be in a big company, and so big corporations tend to be up there, pretty professional, pretty disciplined, but very conservative, hard to make really innovative stuff. Or you can make it in a startup, which is super opportunistic, very entrepreneurial, takes crazy risks, but it's going to fail because no one knows what they're doing. It's very amateurish, it's very sloppy. Everyone makes the same 10,000 mistakes over and over again. And this is the tech industry. This is the industry that VCs have created. This is the industry that big companies have created. This is how we exist in tech. But it doesn't have to be like this. And other industries have figured this out. We draw a lot of inspiration from modern, really successful film and TV studios, from the new Hollywood. We draw a lot of inspiration from Netflix, from Pixar, from organizations, for example, like Netflix, that make incredibly innovative things, like Pixar, that makes very, very innovative, very creative films, but does it in a disciplined way, in a process that's very predictable, and that's what we want to be. We want to drag our industry, the technology industry, into a modern type of organization and actually make things that are always seeking new opportunities, that are very innovative, that are very disruptive, but that are disciplined, because we really believe that this creativity is a process. We talk about All Turtles as we are making Netflix, or we are making Pixar, in that we want to attract the best people in the industry. We want to make very innovative, high-impact, creative things. We want to do that on budget, on time, in a process, repeatedly, over and over again. So we are the Pixar of technology. And lastly, number 3, we believe that if you tackle meaningful problems, then scale will follow. We think there's been a lot of undue attention paid in startup land to scale, to getting big, to growth hacking. We don't care about any of these things. We don't start by asking how big can a product get, how big can a company get. We start by asking how quickly can it have impact, how quickly can it solve a real problem that real people face that we can build right now that would have been impossible to build even a few years ago. We believe that first you have to make something that tackles a meaningful problem, a worthwhile problem in the world, and if you do that and if you really solve that problem, then that's good enough. But if you do that and you solve a meaningful problem, then you can scale. In fact, your chances of making something huge, your chances of making the next unicorn in this world are much higher if you actually start with concentrating on impact and meaningful impact rather than on growth hacking and on scale. So these are the 3 things we believe, and because of our focus on tackling meaningful problems, everything we work on, we only work on because we think that the world will be at least a little bit better if that product succeeds. And we've got 5 great examples of everything that we're building in Europe, that we're working with amazing founding teams, product teams, companies to make these things real. We have 15 products currently in development worldwide at All Turtles. You can see some of them are still secret, others you can read about on our website. And we have 5 great ones that we are headquartering in Paris, here at Station F, and building out in Europe. And we'll talk to the founders of each of them in a minute. Thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoy the rest of this evening. I'm actually going to interview the first CEO, Augie Fabela, who is the CEO of Fastforward, one of the product teams that we're working with in Europe to hopefully make a pretty big difference. So please join me and welcome to the stage Augie Fabela.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for being the first person we talked to here.
Thank you.
I think some people here probably know who you are, but a lot of people don't. So Augie is actually, he's probably the most interesting man in the universe. There's a lot of people who claim that, but definitely like in the top 3 to 5, maybe. You were one of the founders of Vion, which is currently one of the largest telecom companies in the world. I think bigger than like AT&T and Verizon like put together, and have many other fascinating projects and side projects. Augie is actually a chief of police in the Cook County, which is where Chicago is in the U.S. Sheriff's Department. So in addition to being a founder of a multi-billion-dollar tech company and a police officer, also is a founder of a new company called Fastforward, which is tackling a super interesting problem. It's basically reinventing the way that a few billion people manage their cell phone plans. Do you want to tell us about why you got into this, what you think the opportunity is?
Sure. So Fastforward.ai is a company that we conceived about a little over a year ago. And as Phil said, I spent 25 years in the telecom industry and built a telecom company with 250 million subscribers worldwide. And that gave me an insight in that if I looked at what the telco operators were offering to their customers and how they were serving their customers, I saw a problem and an opportunity. There's 4 billion prepaid mobile subscribers in the world. And of those 4 billion prepaid mobile subscribers, an operator only knows their phone number. They know nothing about that consumer. So by definition, if you don't know anything about your consumer, your user, your customer, you really can't serve them very well. And the technology that they were using to serve that customer was a 25-year-old push-button-based technology. To do your top-ups, add-ons, check your balance, you basically had to press 1, 7, 6, 5, whatever series of numbers. Now, everyone has developed, if you're a prepaid user, you have muscle memory that you can do it in your sleep. You don't need to look at your keypad. You can do all this very quickly. But nonetheless, as a prepaid user, you're interacting somewhere between 2 and 10 times every single month in a very antiquated way. We said, we need to change this.
Yeah, and it's not only, which is actually something that surprised me. I had not used a prepaid cell phone plan before. Many of our colleagues at Old Turtles have. And it was kind of shocking to me to see that there are these billions of people right now who are basically having to, multiple times a week, buy more minutes, buy more data in this very old-fashioned way. Yep. And not only is it old-fashioned, but frankly, a lot of the current systems are kind of scammy. They're kind of exploitative. They spam people with random offers. They're bad experiences. They're confusing.
That was the other thing we identified. The only way that an operator could communicate with those 4 billion people is to spam them with SMS. There was no other way to communicate with them.
Right.
And so as a user, you've got offers and promotions that had no value to you, were not contextual, didn't mean anything to you, and we saw an opportunity to change that as well. And so we created a platform that basically revolutionizes the way people can do that.
So current system is bad for users, about 4 billion of them, bad for companies, like no one is happy about this. So what is new this year where you think you can solve it, which wouldn't have been possible when you made your last multi-billion-dollar phone company?
So we took a very simple approach. We said, how can we go where people are living? And people live 85% of their mobile internet data time on their phones inside social media. So we said, let's bring the whole experience into social media, into Facebook Messenger, into Viber, into Twitter, WhatsApp when they open up. And instead of having the customer have to come to you as the operator with push button or even the My Account apps, you know, who downloads the My Orange, My Vodafone, My AT&T app? Very few people use it. You know, statistically, only 15% of customers actually use an operator's app. So we basically give them the opportunity to do everything they need to do, either to activate a promotion, simple thing like check your balance, top up, buy add-ons, all inside your social media chat stream, never having to leave that experience. And we convert the push-button technology experience into a swipe and tap, very simple, intuitive experience.
The results are kind of dramatic. So you've been launched now for 6 months, and we have some results just over the past 6 months at one of your customer sites.
They've been quite extraordinary, actually.
Really extraordinary. So this is a telco operator where?
So the customer is Ooredoo. It's actually 165 million subscribers worldwide, 12 different countries. This happens to be one of their operations that we started with in Maldives, where we've been able to deliver 46% penetration in terms of subscribers that are using our platform on a monthly basis.
In 6 months.
In 6 months, which took them 3.5 years to get to only 15%.
Which kind of shows the hunger for this thing. You have all these people who are, this is something they do multiple times a week. They have to like do something to refill their cell phone plans, to buy more data, to get offers. It's a bad experience. They've been doing it for 25 years without any much difference. You give them something modern, and within 6 months, half of them are already using it, which is kind of startling.
What was also extraordinary, and we didn't even expect this, but is a great unintended consequence, is they only have 140,000 data plan users in the Maldives. It's small, you know, Maldives is only a population of 400,000. We have 250,000 monthly active users, which meant not only were we able to serve all of their customers, we actually were able to expand their universe and serve other mobile operator customers under their brand, the Ooredoo brand, and really develop a relationship on the basis of the social media channel. and really serve beyond even their own customer base, which is really quite extraordinary for them.
Right. And not only is the penetration rate super high, but the actual results are really positive for the users and the company.
We have been. So we've been able to get a 16%, in terms of our subscribers, our users, 16% higher revenue, 23% lower churn, 22% less calls into customer service centers, which the churn in the customer service centers for a mobile operator, those are huge expense areas.
Right.
So the fact that we can save that is a significant contribution.
Nobody calls the customer service of a mobile operator because they're happy, right? These are 100% of these are problems. 100% of these are bad experiences for the people and expensive experiences for the company. And so a 22% reduction in that it's got to make everyone happy.
The other thing that we found that, again, we expected it to be good, but ended up being extraordinary was the promotion click-through rates. Average industry for mobile, because they're using mass SMS blasts, is about 1% conversion on promotions. We've been able to achieve an average of 14% in terms of an offer that goes out there because it's targeted. We know about the customer. We know what they want.
Right.
And so we're giving something of value to them, and therefore the conversion rates are much higher, in some cases as high as 28%, but an average of 14% over 6 months.
Yeah, so 14 times better performance versus kind of getting spammed. When, like, these results, when you were running a large telco, like, when do you see results that are, plus 20%, plus 16%? Like,
yeah, those are
how
pretty
common
rare.
is this?
That's pretty rare. I mean, right now, if you're a great telco, you're happy with 2%, 3% revenue growth per year. So it's quite extraordinary.
So what are the plans for the future, and who do you want to contact you about rolling this out in other places?
So yeah, for me, first of all, it's great being back in startup mode. Of course, I love the company that I built, but it become big, large, bureaucratic. It's great to be
How many employees
restarting.
are at Vion kind of at the height?
Yeah, we have 60,000 employees.
60,000.
60,000.
Okay.
We have 13 right now at Fastforward.
How does it feel going from 2 to 60,000 to 13?
Actually, it's awesome. Being in startup mode is the best thing ever. Super creative. So our intention is that we will limit ourselves to 3, maybe 4 customers this year in order to replicate these kinds of results in different markets. Our next market is a 12 million person market, where we'll roll out 12 million SIM market with 60 million population. We'll roll out there and see how that does. And then once we have those proof points, we basically see next year just be the next scale step to be able to go and reach other telco operators and people.
Any advice for people in this audience that are thinking about building a 60,000 person company?
Well, even when I started that company actually in the Soviet Union in 1991 with a vision to just democratize communications in a market that didn't have communications, and to really bring communications to the people. It's what we're doing here now with Fastforward. Is we want to bring an experience to 4 billion people in a way that transforms and puts them front and center. We really want to make that difference. Same thing as when we started Vion. So the advice is focus on something that's going to make a difference and impact, and let that be your motivator. Let that be your drive, because the problems will always be there. I'm fortunate that I've been through lots of problems, and so that's great. So it makes this maybe a little bit easier and more familiar, but it doesn't make the problems go away. We're still going through all the same problems as we're scaling up. So the advice is, look at a grander vision, focus on that, and get all the help you can get. We're proud to be an all turtles company because of the fact that we're able to leverage the expertise in AI, in UI, UX, in just all the common startup problems. So partner with people who can really help you get through those difficulties that are sometimes necessary noise, and you just focus on your vision, your product, and really making that impact.
Great. Well, so you're hiring all sorts of people. So if anyone here is interested in working for something this meaningful, just get in touch with us. We will connect you with Augie and with the team. And good luck on 60,000 person company number 2. It's an honor to be here at the beginning with you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be a partner with All Turtles.
Thank you, Augie. Okay, I'm going to hand it off to my co-founder, John Cifuentes, who is going to interview Mursal Hedayat, who is the co-founder and CEO of Chatterbox, actually our newest All Turtles product team. Take it away, John.
Hi, my name is John Cifuentes. I'm one of the co-founders at All Turtles. I'm super pleased to introduce Mursal. Mursal, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So what's Chatterbox? Take us through it.
So Chatterbox is a solution to the problem of underutilized refugee talent. We train and employ people who have become displaced from their countries due to war and other crises and are either unemployed or underemployed in their host communities. We train up that talent for them to gain employment as online language tutors. And that's just one of the many areas of employment that we hope to develop in future.
Wow, that's super interesting. So what are some of the languages that you're supporting now or training up? What are you focused on?
So our most popular languages are Arabic, Spanish, French, Mandarin. I think over the next few decades, we'll also be able to provide languages like, increasingly Mandarin, also American English, because climate change is going to really impact people's lives. It's going to the Lancet, which is a really well-respected academic journal, predicts that there'll be 1 billion climate change refugees by 2050.
Wow.
So I think the number of languages will sadly be going up.
This product feels deeply personal. It feels like there's a bit of a story. But how did you get here? Can you walk us through it? Why this product or why this problem?
So I arrived in the UK as a refugee with my mum, who is called Petuni, and she was a successful civil engineer in Afghanistan. It's not very easy to become a female civil engineer in Afghanistan, so she would have fit right into the All Turtles family of, inspiring, hardworking people. And although we know talent is distributed evenly around the world, unfortunately hers was displaced from the place she'd found success through hard work and education. And after the Taliban took over Kabul, we moved to the UK for safety. And a woman like her really shouldn't have found it hard to gain employment. She had a civil engineering degree, 10 years in practice, spoke English and 3 other languages fluently. But because of frictions in the labour market, a little bit of bias as well, she was unemployed in the UK for more than a decade. And so I grew up seeing this extraordinary woman unable to break into the labour market. And her story ends well. She used her language skills to gain employment in the language services sector, starting with interpretation, and now she's a language teacher in schools. So I basically copied my mum for an idea, and I thought that many people could have benefited from what her courageous steps forward into the labour market were, and it's proving somewhat of a success.
Super cool, yeah. So you immediately tackle it as an entrepreneur and think about how you can scale this problem up. It's really awesome. So language learning it's a big market. There are a lot of versions of different products. There's a Rosetta Stone. They have 1 million different products. There's Duolingo. We're at All Turtles. We're working on a TOEFL and TOEIC test prep product. So they take a lot of forms. What works or what doesn't work? Why are you tackling it the way you are with in-person, online, face-to-face tutors?
So you mentioned that the root of our language teaching style is quality human connection. And it's because I think our belief as a team is that in the future, tech and platforms are going to become increasingly cheap and lower in value as the number of them grow. And we're sort of seeing this in the language learning market, which is becoming highly commoditized. Like the difference between an app like Duolingo and an app like Memrise, minimal. But true value, it comes from humans, and especially in an industry like language learning, probably one of the most human endeavors you could ever undertake. And I guess the educational side of it is we tap into what's called integrative language learning motivation, which comes from a desire to become closer to the people and culture represented by that language. So it's sort of a motivational loop. Our students want to get to know our super interesting tutors better, and that encourages them to study more. And our tutors themselves are very motivated to share their stories because they're incredibly proud of the countries they've come from. They don't often get the opportunity to talk about what their lives were like. And so this is building some really beautiful connections and some very effective, highly motivated language learning.
This company sounds operationally complex. What's the hardest part about making this product? Is it technical? Is it finding tutors? Is it training them up?
Honestly, I think probably everyone in the audience can attest that most startup founders struggle with focus. So far we have a B2C business, a B2B business. We are currently at 5 UK universities. We have a growing consumer business coming through our website, and we're looking to expand to corporate. So I think one of the things I'm really looking forward to digging into with the All Turtles team is sort of picking the one that we're going to scale.
I'm sure we'll have a lot of focused conversations.
Very.
So it's Refugee Week in London, right? This week.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, what is that? What does that mean?
So Refugee Week is a celebration of what the refugee communities around the world, and particularly in the UK this week, represent. I think one of the really depressing things I've seen in the last decade is, as the numbers of refugees in the world has gone up, the number of sort of vitriolic and unfounded impression of the refugee community that's also grown as well. I think one thing that people should remember is that the current refugee system of human rights is one of the, I think, profoundly beautiful agreements we've made with each other. It's sort of saying that if your country is going through a hard time and you can't live there anymore, you can come and stay at my place until you get back onto your feet. And this sort of guarantee that we all have to safety if our countries no longer can provide safety for us is, I think, fantastic. And any one of us could need that at any time. We're all just one red button away from needing to take advantage of the liberty that the refugee human rights afford us. And I think certain orange-haired presidents also have shown increasingly Western people that we're all quite vulnerable to political instability. And I think Refugee Week shows that refugees are a constant. I think, sadly, there will always be a need for people to move to protect their lives, but that refugee communities are also extremely productive. If you look at somewhere like Silicon Valley and trace where people are coming from, a large number of the most successful entrepreneurs come from refugee backgrounds. And it's the same in every other industry. So Refugee Week celebrates that, the achievements of the refugee community.
Right. That's amazing. So how else can people get involved? How can people help?
So we're raising our seed round at the moment. That's one way. Another way is, so we've had a lot of interest from the business community, corporates, who appreciate that if they're already buying language learning products, why not have social impact at the same time? So I guess if someone wants to introduce Chatterbox as a company benefit into their office or replace their existing language service provider, that would be another way.
Super cool. So what's next? What's next for you, for the company?
So our team's about to grow. We're currently a team of 3. We'll become a team of 7 in the next 3 months, which is going to be fantastic to finally sort of have the resources that we need to fully realize the potential of this idea.
Awesome, Mursal. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you having you. I'm very pleased to introduce Alex Pachikov, the founder and CEO of Sunflower Labs. So Alex, come on up. Tell us what you do.
Thank you all. Great to be here. So I'm Alex, and at Sunflower Labs, we're developing a new type of a home security system. We believe it's the next generation of security systems. It's a way for us to be able to give you dynamic observation of any portion of your home. And it consists of several products. One, as you can probably guess, is the drone, which flies around. That's effectively a security camera. And a set of sensors that you see right there that you place around your property. These sensors detect motion and vibration and identify the activity which is going on, and then let you know. And if you want to look at it, then you push a button and you deploy the drone. So the sensors we call the sunflowers, and you can see them on the left here. They look like garden lights. They're cleverly disguised as garden lights, I suppose. And you place them around your property in the same way that you would place garden lights. So in this case, this is a map of our office where you can see that we have 8 of them placed there. And the line that's tracked is an actual activity event. So this is one of our employees who's been walking around the property, and you can see where he is. So no cameras were used in tracking the motion, just the motion and vibration sensors, which we embed into our sunflowers. The second product is the actual drone. We call it the bee, It's effectively a flying security camera. It flies completely autonomously. There's no joystick, there's no controller. All you do is, if an event was detected, you can push a button, or you can talk to your phone and ask it to take a look, show me what you see over there. And the drone takes off and flies over there. And the third product is actually the base station that we call the Hive. And so this is the little house where the drone lives and charges, and it's also the central processing unit for everything. And of course, there's an app for you to be able to control it. The app will let you know the current status of your property. It will show you where the sensors are placed. It will show you the events which took place. In this case, you can see that there's some events that a car pulled into my driveway, an animal was detected. All the events are interpreted just in simple English or any language you want, so you can see what's going on. So it's less of a, an alarm or security that went off. You can actually see, look, a person's in your backyard. Is this something that you're worried about or not? And then, of course, if you're deploying a drone, you would see the video from it. And today, I'd like to show you guys how it actually works. So this video I made on Monday. I edited it yesterday, and you were literally the first people to ever see it. This is our alpha system that we've built. So our headquarters, our main office is in Zurich, and our guys have been working on this for quite some time, and so we're really proud to show the very first alpha system in action. And one other thing that we wanted to show is that instead of just using the app, we wanted to show how you can just talk to the system and ask it what's going on around your property and guide the drone to take a look somewhere. So here we go.
Hey Siri, what was that?
There is a person in your backyard.
Hey Siri, let's take a look. Hey Siri, return to land.
This is a video that I literally shot with my iPhone on Monday. So that's the current state of the system. We are currently in the very early stages of testing it, so this is the very first system which exists. And we are, after this, are following up with a beta system that we're going to be deploying across some of our early customers' homes. And after that, we will launch it commercially. So that's the end of my presentation. I did want to mention a couple of words about All Turtles. Our company was one of the first ones to join All Turtles in the very beginning. I've known Phil a very long time. Phil's been a lot of help and a mentor to us. And All Turtles has been an amazing help to us as a company. My entire team are just engineers, as you saw in the video. So everything else about us, all of our design, everything that's non-core engineering is effectively help and assistance that we've gotten from All Turtles. And we're extremely thankful for that. Makes us look like a real company. Thank you very much. And next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Julia Shaw and Dr. Jessica Collier.
Thank you. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Jessica.
How's it going?
Good. Great to be here.
We have this new segment on our podcast that's called Dr. Doctor, and I feel like we could just film or tape one of those right now if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are one of the product founders of Spot.
I am.
Yes, but that's not what you've been doing for a very long time, right? Your background is as a memory scientist.
That's right. So I spent about 10 years researching memory, in particular researching how people remember important emotional events. Now, I trained, for example, the police and military how to ask the right questions about, for example, a crime that's been committed or that you think has been committed. And it's not just about the interview style, getting more details, it's also about avoiding leading or biased interview techniques. And so after spending 10 years actually coming in and telling people all the problems and all the ways in which they're doing it wrong, which, as we know, human beings, when they talk to each other, are filled with biases and assumptions, and they ask all kinds of for lack of a better word, stupid things. And so they get bad information. And so I met Phil actually at an event about a year ago, and we started talking about my research, and he started talking about his new startup studio, All Turtles, and I thought it sounded like such an incredible space. Now, I was teaching at a university at this point. I was the head of the criminology department. I had no idea that I would be here right now. But Phil brought me over to San Francisco. I met you. And July 4th weekend, after meeting my co-founders, Dylan and Daniel, we came up with the idea for Spot. And essentially, now I feel like the last year I've been able to go around and actually talk about the solution to how we can help people remember better. In particular about workplace harassment and discrimination.
Yes, and so let's talk a little bit about what exactly is the problem that Spot's trying to solve? Like, what is it that's broken?
There's two things that are broken that I'm passionate about. One thing is that right now we know that most people don't report workplace harassment and discrimination when it happens. So the overwhelming majority of people who experience something or see something inappropriate at work will never tell their employer. Now, if you're not communicating to your employer what's happening, of course your employer is unable to fix it.
What are some of the barriers to reporting currently?
Yeah, barriers to reporting include things like not wanting to talk to a human being, again, because you might, and you probably will be, judged. You have to work in office hours. You need to schedule a meeting. You need to identify yourself. And so not being able to stay anonymous, for example, can be a fearful experience because you feel like, what if this person retaliates? What if this person chooses to fire me or just doesn't take me seriously? And so I think that around these sort of issues, the barriers to reporting, one of the ways in which we've solved that or tried to solve it is by having an anonymous online reporting tool. So it's up to you to decide when you record what happened, you get contemporaneous evidence by chatting with our perfect memory interviewer effectively. You get to keep that PDF after going through a chat. Then you decide, do I want to keep this in case I need it later, or do I want to send this to my employer? And at that point, you decide, do I want to stay anonymous or not? So we're trying to really put the power back in, or not back, into the hands of people who have been victimized and make that communication mechanism more effective.
Yes. And I think one of the reactions that we get a lot, and I think this is a totally fair reaction, is that talking to a machine about a negative emotional experience feels kind of counterintuitive, right? We're humans having human problems. We are sort of experiencing emotions. How can a machine possibly understand us better than a human? For this particular use case, so for reporting workplace harassment and discrimination, why do you think that talking to a computer might actually be a better solution than talking to another person?
Right, so the first issue was underreporting. We want to tackle underreporting. The second issue is we think that specifically for this particular problem, a chatbot or a tool that you can use online is going to be better at generating evidence. And so when we talk about memory interviews, and this is really where the science comes in, we're actually right now, we're half scientists, which I think is phenomenal, and half just incredibly qualified people who actually create the tool. But science is really important to me. And I want to continue that Spot contributes to the wider body of knowledge. But with memory science, what we know, again, is that people are bad at sticking to scripts, and they're bad at sticking to what they're supposed to be asking.
And they're bad at maintaining objectivity.
And they're really bad at maintaining objectivity. And so from training police officers in this, so there's this technique called the cognitive interview. Now, the cognitive interview is best practices in memory interviewing. And what it does is it means that you start with an open-ended question, tell me everything you can remember, and then you follow up with non-leading, non-suggestive, non-emotional probes. Now, this has been researched for about 20 years. There's at least 20 years of research that this is the best way to go. But there's been no scalable version of this. And given the particular problem this is trying to solve, we think that solving the problem of interviewers being biased and interviewers maybe not getting the highest quality information, what our tool can do is it can really help you turn your memory into evidence, into high quality contemporaneous evidence that worst case scenario, if you take this into a courtroom, is going to probably hold up really well.
And we are also, this sort of end user experience, if you've experienced harassment or discrimination, you can actually go to Spot now and create a report of what happened. we're also building out a product for teams. Do you want to talk a little bit about Spot for Teams?
Yeah, so I usually focus my conversation on people who've experienced or witnessed harassment and discrimination because I think that's still the biggest issue we're trying to solve. But of course, that's insufficient on its own. We need to help companies to actually help and organizations to tackle this issue. So Spot for Teams is something that's so the general platform was released in February. You can go to talktospot.com right now. It's free. You can use it. There will always be a free version. We don't keep your data. It's totally anonymous. It's totally private. We just think the world needs this. But if you are an organization or a company or want to tell your organization or company about this, what we help them do is to streamline the reporting process, make sure that report gets into the right hands, make sure that in the chat you're said, for example, your organization, whatever their name is, supports you being here. We are committed to hearing what you have to say about what's happening within our organization. And then, and I think this is possibly the most exciting piece of the tool for teams, in addition to getting a dashboard where you get all the incoming reports, you get the ability to respond even if someone has chosen to report anonymously. What that means is you get a report as, let's say, the HR expert in your organization, and you can immediately take action and tell that person, we've heard you, here's what we're doing, and perhaps can you answer a few more questions. So we're really trying to streamline the process for both sides so that both are able to take action.
Nice. And I think, for All Turtles, we work on a lot of conversational products. I think that's kind of one of the things that's happening in the zeitgeist right now. And one of the things that I think Spot has taught all of us who have been working on it is that really when you're doing AI product design, the goal isn't to make the machine that you're interacting with feel more like interacting with a human. The goal is to actually sort of emphasize the humanity of the person themselves, right? It's to make the human feel more human.
Right, and definitely I think in this particular case, an automated interview, it's not about making another memory scientist. It's not about having me in your pocket. It's having the perfect version of me in your pocket all the time. And something that's better than. So this is a use of technology that isn't recreating. This is a use of technology that's better than.
And if people are interested in becoming beta customers of Spot for Teams, what would they do?
Yeah, so we actually just launched our beta, the Spot for Teams back end about 2 weeks ago, so it's super fresh. And if you want to take part, we're looking for beta organizations who want to be there right at the beginning and who want to help us build this into the best product it can be to help you run your business effectively. You can just email me, julia@talktospot.com, or go through the website. You can also try out the chatbot.
Great.
So
Thanks,
yeah, great.
Julia.
Thanks so much for having me.
I have the great pleasure of introducing Christine Foote, who's the COO of Leaders, which is was our first, I think, Paris-based studio company, and Ken Inoue, who is the managing director of All Turtles Tokyo.
My name is Ken Inoue. I'm the head of All Turtles Tokyo office. And being Japanese, I'm a little kind of meticulous. Maybe we should sit this way.
Because people
Yes,
confuse
and
us.
yes, and yeah. And I'm also fussy about time. We're running like 20 seconds late, so maybe we should get going.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, Christine. Tell me about yourself and your background.
Okay. This is like a kind of like speed dating, I guess. So Ken knows me, actually. Ken and I used to work together at Evernote. But my background is in event management. So started off planning events for Sundance Film Festival and Major League Soccer. Worked at a nonprofit, and then after that, moved to the Bay Area, and I'd been working in tech events for the past 8 years or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
And speaking of events, did you organize this one?
I had a little hand in today. Yeah. I helped out. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Slack channel for the organizers of this event, and you were, sending like...
Yeah, I was screaming in the Slack
yes,
channel.
You were.
Yeah,
in capital letters,
Yeah.
yes. Yes. So you know a little about organizing events. So is that a part of the reason why you are involved in Leaders?
I mean, it's actually, I met Loic, who is the CEO and founder of Leaders, and I met him at his event, Loeb. We used to take Evernote there. And he and I had met through that event, and when I figured out what he was working on, it was a problem that I've had for years in that I'm an event organizer and I know how to produce a great experience for people, but the problem always remains, like year over year, creating great content. And so that's the problem that he was starting to solve at that point, and it was something that I'd been facing for years, and so I was super excited to get the opportunity to work to try and tackle it.
Okay, and you moved from San Francisco to Paris to do that?
I moved not necessarily to do this, but I moved because I really love Paris,
okay.
and it happened to work out. I'm very fortunate to have an all French team, and so they sort of understood that maybe I'd want to live in their country and live in Paris. So yeah, I moved in November, and the stars have sort of aligned because there's a good business reason for us to be here. A lot of our speakers are well known in Silicon Valley, and I think Europe's pretty hungry to get some of that information.
Well, I think, people in tech and startups and entrepreneurship tend to see Silicon Valley, San Francisco as the ultimate place to be, but you chose to come to Paris.
I think maybe the center of gravity is shifting a little bit. Like you're in Tokyo. There are things happening there. Things are definitely moving right now, or there's an energy that I feel in Paris. So Silicon Valley is the hub, but that's not to say that great things don't happen all over the place. So I'm happy to be a part of the Parisian tech boom.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, and in this Station F, which is great.
Yeah, no, very happy to be here. Yeah.
Yes.
No, yeah.
So and the and the service Leaders. So can you walk us through how people can access that and use that?
Yeah, so we actually just launched a new flow and experience last week. So I'd encourage everyone to test it out. But basically, we're trying to cut out a lot of the research that event organizers or people who are really tasked with event organization, and it's not their full-time job, have to do. So many people, like in HR or executive assistants or team leads are required to put together these sessions, and they're required to become experts on these fields. Like the topics that we have or we cover on Leaders are blockchain or cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, digital transformation. And these event organizers are required to become instant experts in that, do their own research, then go out and find the contact information, go back and forth on availability if they get a response. So we're trying to cut out really all of that for event organizers and take the guesswork out of it. So we've curated a network of over 300 speakers in frontier technology topics that we know are fantastic and are available at a range of prices. And so from there, you're able to come onto the website, give us just the basic information that you need to share, like the location, the date, if you have a budget, what kind of things you'll cover. And then from there, we go and we basically curate a list of speakers who are interested and available for your event. So from right then, you can just book them.
So it's a service also for speakers too?
Yeah. I mean, we sort of represent speakers. It's something that we're trying to promote really among a new generation of speakers. We definitely have very well-known speakers on the circuit, but we're also trying to promote sort of the new faces and also, really promoting subject matter experts. I would say most of the people, all of the people on the platform are true experts. They really have a day job that's beyond speaking, so they're able to speak to these emerging trends.
And Paris is truly diverse and multicultural, and the center of Europe, and very different from San Francisco, and maybe it's a very different place to organize events and to have them.
I mean, I think every location has its own quirks, I guess, or idiosyncrasies that you figure out. But I think Paris is actually becoming a lot like San Francisco in that Paris expects a high level of quality from their events. I think with Le Web, and that set the bar, and now like Vivatech's taking that forward. We do our own event here, so I think Paris has high expectations.
Okay, and lastly, what next? What are your plans for leaders in the coming months or years?
Well, right now, since we just launched the flow, we're really focused on fine tuning that, getting people through the flow, figuring out where we can improve that. And then we'll see. We definitely want to expand across categories as we get more demand. But since we just launched last week, we're open to feedback and to making it better.
Great, thank you. And people who are interested in organizing events and speaking at events, and,
or if you're ever tasked, if it's thrown on your plate and it's not what your day job actually is, just go to Leaders. So. Our URL is Leaders, all one word, and the period is between the E and the R. So LEADE.RS. Yeah.
Point.
We're in France.
Point. Okay.
Yeah.
And with that, I'd like to, thank you, Christine.
Oh, thanks, Ken.
And with that, I'd like to hand the mic back to...
Thank you.
Not my mic, but... Edoardo.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Christine. So I hope that we get Phil back on stage.
Thank you so much for helping organize this. I think it was a super interesting session. I'm glad that we got to show you guys the 5 teams that we have in Europe. And I've talked to each of the CEOs and kind of asked what's their one main ask, what do they most want, and so. Basically, what they all most want is people. Everyone is hiring. So if you're interested in joining any of these teams, you can work for them. You can work at All Turtles. We're very flexible about how that works. But get in touch with us at hello@all-turtles.com or come to the website. And we would love to talk to people here. And I was just thinking, as our 5 teams here representing, that what they all have in common is this idea that we are using technology. We're using pretty basic AI to make people feel more human, and that's the common thread through all of these projects. If you think about Fast Forward, when I interviewed Augie, it was about taking 4 billion people that right now are using this very old, this very bureaucratic interface to do something important and making it more modern, making them talk to their phone company and use their phone in a much more human way. If you think about what Chatterbox is doing, it's restoring that sense of humanity and dignity to refugees, to people who are well educated, who are qualified, and treating them as important and dignified people. That's a use case that really resonates with me tremendously. I'm a refugee myself. My family came over from what used to be the Soviet Union to the US, and it's amazing to see this company treat people with the dignity they deserve. And I love Mursal's point about how it's much more effective as a teaching aid, as a method to learn a language, because for students who care about these issues, they care about their instructors, they're much more likely to actually remember and understand and learn well. I think that's a beautiful loop. Sunflower Labs, which is taking something currently completely broken, home security, which doesn't treat people like humans. Your home security system, it's never a good experience. It always just goes, an alarm goes off, and the best case scenario is that it's a false alarm. That's the best thing that can happen. The worst case scenario is someone has already broken into your house. It's a very not human experience. It lets you get more awareness. All of these are things that I think are just examples of how we can use technology to make people feel more human, to find qualified speakers, to do all of these things.
And I take away from this the immense passion and dedication of the founders that we've seen tonight. Mm-hmm. They're really, truly amazing. I think we could show a sample of the people that we work with, we look for, we find throughout Europe, throughout the world. As Phil was saying, talent is rare but equally distributed, evenly distributed. So if you have an idea, if you want to work with us, we're hiring, fundraising, starting new projects, please contact us. And I'm based here, and Phil's often here as well.
All the time, yeah. And I think the best example of the 5 here in terms of using technology in a simple way to make people feel more human is what Jessica and Julia talked about with Spot. This idea that it's a very simple thing, but it restores your power and your dignity if you think you've suffered or witnessed workplace harassment and discrimination, and by talking to a computer, it actually helps restore your humanity. I think it's a beautiful example. So if anyone here either has experienced discrimination or harassment at work, it's free to use for everyone. If you know people, tell them to go to talktospot.com and try it. And if you work at companies that you think need this system, tell your companies to get it. And if you want to work on helping us build this, come and get in touch and help us build all these products and the next 500 products in Paris.
At least. Thank you, Phil.
Thanks,
Please
Edoardo.
join us at the cocktail upstairs.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.